R&B legend Angie Stone spent decades making hit songs and shaping the music industry. But behind the scenes, something wasn't right. She recently found out that Universal Music Group, UMG, had been taking her money she worked hard for. She said they stole her publishing rights, royalties, and mechanicals, which meant she wasn't getting paid for her own music. Angie was shocked and angry. She had been in the business for over 40 years, yet she was missing millions of dollars. She wasn't going to stay quiet. Angie spoke up, telling the world that UMG had been stealing from her. She said she would do whatever it took to get her money back. "One way or the other, Universal Music, you're going to have to give up my coins," she declared. She wanted her money, not just for herself, but for her children and grandchildren. She was determined to make things right. But just when she started to push harder, tragedy struck. Angie was in a van traveling back to Atlanta from Alabama when something shocking happened. The van flipped over on the highway and was hit by a large truck. There were 8 other people in the van, and all of them survived. But Angie was the only one who died. Many fans started asking questions. Was this just a tragic accident, or was there something more to it? Before her death, Angie had been revealing a lot about the dark side of the music industry. She spoke about how 2 famous singers, D'Angelo and Mary J. Blige, were used to ruin her career. Angie had a well-known relationship with D'Angelo, but she said people in the industry spread lies about her. They told people she introduced him to alcohol and drugs, which made her look bad. These rumors hurt her reputation and made it hard for her to succeed. Angie believed D'Angelo didn't even know this was happening. Instead, she blamed the business handlers who wanted to keep them apart and ruin her name. But that wasn't all. Angie also said that Mary J. Blige played a part in this. Back when Mary was starting out, her manager asked Angie to mentor her because she reminded him of Angie. Angie helped Mary, but she felt that Mary never showed her any gratitude. She even accused Mary of taking a song she recorded with D'Angelo without permission. Angie was hurt, but she never said whether Mary was doing this on purpose or if she was just being used by the industry. Angie Stone's story didn't just stop at her fight with Universal Music Group or her issues with D'Angelo and Mary J. Blige. There was even more going on behind the scenes, and the deeper she looked, the more shocking things she found. She started digging into her finances, trying to figure out exactly how much money she had lost. She knew she had made millions over her 40-year career, so where was all of it? Who had been taking it? And why hadn't she been receiving her royalties? What she discovered made her furious. Universal Music Group had been collecting all of her royalties and mechanicals for years. She wasn't getting anything. And this wasn't just a mistake. This was something that had been happening for decades. Angie said there were people behind the scenes who had been switching things around, making sure that she didn't know what was going on. She trusted the wrong people, and they took advantage of her. "I should have been able to retire 20 years ago with the money I've made," she said. But instead of living comfortably, she was struggling to get what was rightfully hers. She even said that her songs hadn't been properly registered, which meant that she wasn't getting paid for them. There were even class action lawsuits about this, but she hadn't known about them. Now she was ready to fight. Angie wasn't just looking into this on her own, she had a whole team working on it. She called them her Diesel team because they were strong and determined to get her money back. She wanted to make sure that Universal Music paid for what they had done to her, and she wasn't just doing this for herself. She wanted young artists to be aware of how the industry worked so they wouldn't end up in the same situation. She warned them about the twists and turns of the business, hoping that her story would be a lesson to others. She had spent decades being taken advantage of, and she didn't want the next generation of artists to go through the same thing. Then, just weeks after she started speaking out, she was gone. Her death shocked everyone. It didn't make sense that she was the only one who didn't survive the crash. People couldn't help but wonder, was this just a tragic accident, or was something more going on? Was Angie's fight for justice the reason she was no longer here? And just when people thought they had heard everything, more details started to come out. There were even more strange things connected to Angie's final days, and they raised even more questions about what really happened to her. One of the strangest things was a set of text messages between Angie and singer Blige. Sure, he shared them after her death, and they revealed something shocking. Angie had been dealing with serious health issues, and she was desperately trying to get a transplant. But she said she was facing discrimination because of her race and age. She told Blige that she had 2 possible donors, but the hospital was making things difficult. She didn't trust the healthcare system and was looking for other options. It had been 5 years since she needed the transplant, and she was still waiting. In those same messages, Angie also mentioned the downfall of Diddy. She told Blige that she had been praying for him because of everything that was happening with Diddy. She said she didn't realize how bad things had been for him in the past, but now the truth was coming out. She even mentioned that she hoped Blige's son, Quincy, would walk away from the situation with Diddy. It was almost as if she knew something big was coming before it happened. This made people wonder, why did Blige share these private messages right after Angie's death? Was he trying to send a message, or was he just adding to the confusion? Some people thought it was suspicious, while others believed he wanted people to know the truth about what Angie was going through. Either way, it only made her sudden passing seem even more mysterious. With all of these strange events surrounding her final days, fans and friends of Angie couldn't help but ask even more questions. Was her death really just a tragic accident, or was there something much deeper going on behind the scenes? And if there was more to the story, would the truth ever come out?